But actually, there is some quite worrying polling around the royal family. I say this as I'm a monarchist light, but I think we've entered into terrain where previously 1/3 of young people were against the monarchy. Now 2/3 are. They bought into something with Meghan and Harry, and now they feel kind of repelled by it. They're actively anti-monarchy.
When was that last polling done? And
very
over what
recently.
Period?
YouGov
when were 2/3 in favour? How long ago was that?
2/3 are now feeling anti.
I know, but what has that moved from and over what period of time?
1/3. But if you
so Jeff is saying at what point, and the answer was probably the 1940s, you know.
No, we've been polling the royal family since the 1980s, and popularity has consistently slid. It has had moments of steeper decline, such as in the 1990s.
Yes.
But what we've seen recently, and this is where it becomes more worrying, is with the Harry and Meghan phenomenon, suddenly young people engaged. It was like, this is an institution that looks like it's reforming, and they actually took an interest where previously most young people were pretty apathetic.
Right.
Now, the problem is those same young people are now feeling more actively anti, and I worry about people like Parker Bowles and all these little posh white page boys. Who is it speaking to?
Oh, that's interesting.
Tessa Dunlop sat on that Jeremy Vine panel and dropped the truth like a weight that everyone in that studio wasn't ready to carry. You could almost feel the oxygen shift. It wasn't dramatic because she shouted. It wasn't explosive because she insulted anyone. It was powerful because she did the one thing the anti-Harry and anti-Meghan commentators never do. She told the truth plainly. With the Harry and Meghan phenomenon, young people suddenly engaged. They actually took an interest. And in that one sentence, she exposed what the royal establishment and their media mouthpieces have been terrified to admit for years. Harry and Meghan didn't damage the monarchy. They didn't weaken the institution. They didn't spark the decline. The decline was already happening. All they did was shine a bright, uncomfortable spotlight on everything the palace hoped the younger generation wouldn't notice. Because if we're honest, the only time the monarchy saw a surge of emotional investment from the global youth was when Harry and Meghan stepped onto that stage with something different: authenticity. Meghan didn't walk into that family playing the stiff upper lip game. She brought warmth, modernity, vulnerability, and charisma. Harry didn't walk behind palace walls pretending not to see the mess. He confronted it. He questioned it. He wanted better for his wife and children. Together they did what the monarchy hadn't done in decades. They made young people pay attention. And the beauty of what I said is that I wasn't romanticizing anything. I wasn't waving some Sussex fan club banner. I was pointing to a fact that even the monarchy's own polling reluctantly reveals. Before Harry and Meghan, Gen Z didn't care. After Harry and Meghan, Gen Z cared too much, to the point where they started asking hard questions the institution was not ready to answer. And that's why the establishment lashes out at them. It's not because of the drama. It's not because of interviews or documentaries. It's because their existence awakened a generation that refuses to consume the monarchy blindly. I understood that, and that's why I didn't flinch when I added that those same young people are now actively anti-royal. Not because Harry and Meghan told them to be, not because some Hollywood narrative brainwashed them, but because once the younger generation started paying attention, they saw the cracks. They saw how the Sussexes were treated. They saw the double standards. They saw the way Meghan, a woman who worked, earned her own living, built her own career, was ripped apart by a media ecosystem desperate to protect the old hierarchy. They saw the way Harry was mocked, diminished, and punished simply for protecting his family. If anything, it wasn't Harry and Meghan who pushed young people away from the monarchy. It was the monarchy's reaction to them. Because when you think back to 2018, the energy was unmatched. Meghan stepped into the royal world with brilliance. The crowds were bigger. The excitement was palpable. She brought in new admirers, people of colour, young women, working professionals, global audiences who never saw themselves reflected in that family until she arrived. And the establishment hated that. They hated the shift in attention. They hated the shift in energy. They hated the fact that the world saw a woman who didn't rely on royal privilege to succeed. Meghan was the first woman in that family with a resume, with work history, with financial independence, and that made certain people deeply insecure. What I highlighted, without even needing to say it directly, is that Meghan exposed the outdated machinery of that institution, and because the machinery couldn't dismantle Meghan's excellence, it tried to destroy her reputation instead. But here's where the haters lost. Meghan's influence outlived their noise. Her impact didn't fade, her values didn't disappear. She became a mirror, and the reflection was not flattering to the firm. And Harry? The anti-Harry trolls love pretending he's irrelevant, but the Jeremy Vine clip itself proves the opposite. The conversation still revolves around him. The monarchy's future is still haunted by him. Even after leaving, he continues to shape public opinion more than the heirs inside the palace walls. He is the catalyst of the generational shift I described. He is the one who said, "No, my children will not suffer what I suffered." And that terrified the institution far more than any book or interview ever could, because Harry broke the cycle. And when someone breaks a family's generational cycle, everyone invested in the cycle turns against them. What my remark revealed is that the young people who became anti-royal didn't become anti-royal because of Harry and Meghan. They became anti-royal because the monarchy showed them exactly who it protects, who it sacrifices, and who it allows to be destroyed. They watched the British media smear Meghan daily while turning a blind eye to scandals elsewhere. They watched commentators foam at the mouth over Meghan's avocado toast while ignoring the deeply troubling behaviour of other royals. They watched Harry be villainised for telling his truth while others got royal protection for lies. The hypocrisy became too obvious. The game became too transparent. And Generation Z does not tolerate nonsense. Tessa Dunlop basically dropped the thesis statement that the British media refuses to print the Sussexes were the monarchy's last chance to modernise. And instead of embracing them, the institution cannibalised them. And once young people saw that, they walked away. The extraordinary part is that even after all the hate campaigns, the smears, the invasive coverage, the palace briefings, the trolls, the podcasts, the endless attacks, Harry and Meghan still remain more culturally relevant than the entire monarchy combined. They moved across the world, rebuilt their lives, started philanthropic work on their own terms, raised their children in peace, and still dominate global conversation without even trying. That's power the establishment can't control, and that's why they panic every time the Sussexes breathe. Tessa Dunlop's clarity, in that moment on Jeremy Vine, is exactly why her voice stands out among the noise. She isn't afraid to say that the monarchy's decline is not Harry and Meghan's fault, it's the monarchy's own refusal to evolve. And the more they drag the Sussexes to deflect from their own stagnation, the more transparent they look to younger generations who expect accountability, diversity,